Hello and welcome to our group presentation for CPT 111, Principle of Programming, Hackathon 4. This is the list of the members from group 47. My name is Muhammad Imran Mazuki bin Zaini with metric number 155417. Next is Muhammad Ilhamul bin Abdul Rahman with metric number 155315, and lastly is Muhammad Al Hakim bin Anwar with metric number 155374. Today I will be talking about the problem analysis, our program, specification requirements, and test examples. So for the problem analysis, following the last hospital billing system, we were to upgrade the hospital billing system so that it can process bills from many patients during their checkup. We are also to assume that the process is done on one specific day. Continuing from Hackathon 3, which was to develop a hospital billing system for a small private hospital, we need to upgrade it so that it can do this additional processing, which is to generate each category charges and total charges for each patient, calculate the total charges for all patients, find the patient's name that pays the lowest bill, generate the total charges for each category for all patients, compute the average hospital stay for a patient, and lastly, find the patient's name that pays the highest bill. So, this is our program. As you can see, it has a menu consisting of 3 things: surgery, medication, and services. So our program will ask the user to input name, day span, room number, surgery type, medication type, service session, and lastly, yes or no. The last question asks if there are any patients left. Therefore, if the user input Y, it will result in the program to ask user to input everything again for the next patient. If the user input N, it will then take the user to the next part, which is the bill. So, for the specification requirements, the inputs are, as you can see, patient's name, number of days spent, room number, surgery type, medication type, service session, and yes or no. For the processes, we have calculation to count a single patient's total bill, service bill, stay bill, total charge of each category, average days of a patient, and total charge of all patients. Next is the outputs. As you can see earlier, it has the menu, patient's name, stay bill, surgery bill, medication bill, service bill, total bill, average hospital stay for a patient, highest and lowest patient bill. The constraint from our program is that integer can be inputted for patient's name, inserting character as input for number of days spent, type of surgery, type of medication, type of service, and number of service session instead of integer will result in infinite loop. Inserting other value instead of y or n will result as if it's n and send the user to the bill menu for the last question. Our assumptions for this program is that the hospital only offers 5 surgeries, 5 different kinds of medication, and 5 kinds of services. The user, as a hospital admin, already knows the price of everything. We also assume that the hospital only offers a room ranging from 1 to 600, and each room comes with its cost for food. We also assume that the patient can only receive 1 surgery, 1 medication, 1 service, and 1 set of meal during all the entire stay at the hospital. And then lastly, we also assume that the program is used when the patient is already to check out. Let's look at a test example. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Hello, I will now discuss our source code. Line 1 until 9 contains the problem and our group members' names, whereas here, from line 10 to line 11, are the usual header files, iostream and iomany, to be included in this code. Line 12 contains the namespace statement that will make all the things under the std namespace available without having to prefix std : before them. Line 14 until 18 contains function prototypes for the functions show menu, hospital stay, surgery charge, medication charge, and service charge. Line 20 is the start of the main function. Line 22 is a string one-dimensional array to store a patient's name that has a size of 999, while line 23 is a double two-dimensional array to store a patient's data that has a row size of 5 and column size of 999. Line 39 is to set the decimal position to 2 decimal places and write in fixed notations. From line 41 until 117, using a do-while loop, we call the function to show the menu to the user, get and store the patient's name, days spent in hospital, room number, the total cost for surgery, medication, and service in array. Line 46 stores the patient's name into the array name. Line 50 stores the number of days the patient spent in the hospital into the variable days. Line 59 stores the room number into the variable room number. Line 65 calls the function hospital stay and stores the value returned into the designed address in the two-dimensional array called R. Then in line 66, the row address X will be incremented by 1. Line 75 calls the function surgery charge and stores the value returned into the designed address in the array called R. And in line 76, the row address X will be added by 1. Line 85 calls the function medication charge and stores the value returned into the array called R. And then in line 86, the row address X will be incremented by 1. Line 105 calls the function service charge and store the values returned to the array called R. Line 108 will increment the column of Rx by 1. Line 109 will reinitialize the variable z to 0. Line 112 will ask the user for another patient, and in line 113, the user will key in input in variable repeat. Line 115 will clear the screen, and in line 117, the do while will repeat if the user key in uppercase y or lowercase y. Line 119 until 127 we use for loop to calculate the total cost for each patient and store in array. The line from line 131 until 141 displays all data in table form, and line 144 until 153 shows total charge for each category. Line 157 until 168 calculates and shows the average stay cost for a patient and total charge of all patients. Line 174 until 184 finds and shows the patient with the highest bill, while line 189 until 199 finds and shows the patient with the lowest bill. Line 203 marks the end of the main function. Here, from line 205 until 224 is the function for the menu to let users choose the payments patients have to pay. Line 226 until 251 is the function of if statement. According to the input user key in, this function will return the cost of hospital stay of a patient to the main function. Line 253 until 276 is the function of if statement. Based on the user's input, this function will return the surgery charge of a patient to the main function. Line 279 to 302 contains the function of if statement, which, according to the user's input, returns the medication charge of a patient to the main function. And lastly, from line 304 until 330 is the function of if statement. This function will return the service charge of a patient to the main function based on the user's input.